Today we'll create a white mandala on painted paper. We'll talk about pens, tools, paper, and process in today's video. I'm Debora Exum. Thanks so much for joining me today. We'll be working from the center out on our mandala today. I always find centers of mandalas to be kind of a challenge because it's such a tight space. For this one, I was trying to go for a gradient circle using the dots, but you can see in some cases there's looks like almost little lines, and that's because I didn't pick my pen up far enough. I love this Uniball gel pen for using white, but it does produce a pretty thick ink, so if you're going to do dots you have to really pick it up and set it down each time. So here we go. Now that we're through our first center, I wanted to show you this. This is the compass that I used for this project, and it comes from a drafting kit from the 1950s. This was my father-in-law's kit that he used when he was in college, and I just really thought it was pretty and unique and interesting, so I wanted to share that with you. All right, in our first round of the mandala, I went with something kind of light and delicate, and I used a different pen for this. You can see it has a much finer line, and I kind of switched back and forth throughout depending on what we're doing in the design, but I went with those spirals with a couple of dots. I thought that turned out kind of cute. So this is where we are now. We're going to be slowly working our way out, putting a unique design in each round. And in this round, I went back to my thicker pen, and I'm doing varying size circles, and I kind of like asymmetrical things, which is unusual to say doing a mandala, which is typically a very symmetrical design, but I didn't try to do consistent circles in each petal there. I just did them varying sizes and didn't worry about if they were different, and I think it turned out really good. I thought about coloring behind the circles, but I thought that would make it too white. And now we're getting ready for our next round of petals. I wanted to share with you what I do kind of between the rounds. It's very calming and meditative for me to do these designs, but in between each round I keep a scrap piece of paper where I just doodle different ideas for the petals, and I wanted to share that with you. And this is how I choose. Some of them you can see are circled, and some you can see check marks by, because those are ones that I decided to use, but I always keep scrap paper and doodle designs in between each round. All right, on this one we're going to go with a leaf design, and rather than draw a stem down the middle and then the veins on each side, I just sort of let those go back and forth and not be quite as precise as a leaf would be. And after I finished doing the leaves, I wanted something on either side, and I tried the light pen and then switched over to the darker one, and I did a little line with a swirl, one on each side. Hope I don't make you too dizzy watching the paper spin, but I couldn't figure out how to keep those consistent without doing them from the same angle each time. So I like that too, and now we're ready for our next round. It's time for me to go back to my scrap paper and think for a little bit, and we'll see what I come up with. Okay, this time I wanted to put a little bit of division between the petals so they wouldn't run quite so tight together, so I drew this line and filled it with dots. I think it makes it look kind of delicate. And then I went with these scallops. I use these a lot, and depending on where they're located, sometimes they look like dragon scale, sometimes snake skin, but because these are petals, I almost think they look more flower-like for this design. I like the way that turned out. And onward to one more round. These are going fast. So this time I'm going to divide each petal into quadrants. And within each quadrant we're going to go back to our lighter weight pen, and we're going to put a shadow in there, and then within those shadows we're going to fill those with lines here in just a minute. For this round, I decided to get a little more precise. I have used my ruler to draw a perfect circle there. Usually the bigger the circle is, the less precise I am with drawing it, so I thought that would be good. I wanted to surround those on either side with smaller circles, which I just freehanded those. And then went back to my lighter pen and I'm making a little flower inside each of the larger circles. One thing to be careful of in doing this is if you put your hand down on the paper. I had a couple of times where I put my hand down and the ink was still a little bit wet. So just be careful about that and let it dry between rounds if you have a bad habit of dragging your hand across the paper. Originally, I planned to color every petal background solid white, but once I did the first one, I thought it was too heavy, so I backed off of that and did every other one. And I kind of like the way it turned out. It kind of really emphasizes the lightness of the other designs. Now here's the pens that I used. It's a Uniball Signo pen, a Jelly Roll white pen for the finer lines, and then I have a blue glitter pen here. I thought I would add some accents, but after I did a little bit with it, you can see them in the still photos that are coming up, but it's really hard to see them just in general on there. So I kind of stopped after I did a little bit of that and decided it really wasn't adding anything to it. So here's the final design. It looks great. I was really pleased with it. I love the way it turned out on this painted paper, which is a piece of copy paper covered with watered down acrylic paints. We did about 20 of these one day, and I've just been using them for all different things. I like the way the color varies behind the mandala. So thanks so much for joining me today. I hope you like this video. I put a new one out every week, and I hope to see you next time. Thanks so much.